All right, so this week we did the first episode of Family Guy, Death Has a Shadow, because the first season of Family Guy, all the episode titles were like named after like old film noirs or something. And then we did the most recently aired episode of Family Guy, which was the season 24 finale, High School History. I think my main thought process upon watching the first episode, because I've watched the first episode of Family Guy a ton, but I hadn't in a while. And the thing I realized is, for all the talk of like, oh, Family Guy is worse these days, or like there's different eras that I myself have said, the first episode of Family Guy is kind of exactly what the rest of the show is. There was never, in my mind, any kind of like growing in period for Family Guy. It knew what it was from the moment it started. You know, like the structure, the edgy jokes, the cutaways, like it wasn't a thing where they like relied more heavily on one or the other. Even the way they write their jokes kind of hasn't evolved. And you can argue that's a bad thing because it's almost like, oh, the show never evolved into an interesting place. But it is also kind of fascinating to see that like this was what it was from the beginning.
I really liked it. I've seen it a bunch too, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Because I would always be like, because they always talk about Family Guy with the cancellations and stuff. And it was like, I really like the thing that's most striking is the animation's very different, but I really like it. Like, it kind of feels like early Simpsons stuff. You see, like, it's funny, like, little things are kind of funny. The characters look a little different. Meg has a different voice actor. Chris's voice is completely different. Stewie is a different character, but it holds up, because it really is, like, I wonder if they all always return to some sort of season one as like a tone or like a thing that they return to so that they can keep the energy of what it was from the inception alive.
Yeah. No,
at the end. I felt
that's
the whole time I was talking, a burp coming out.
That's a very Family Guy bit, to burp in the middle of something.
Yeah.
The thing that I realized is like, I think, so this aired when season 10 of The Simpsons was airing, which is, I think, around the time that a lot of the discourse of like jerk-ass Homer was kind of starting to be like discussed amongst people, meaning like Homer's no longer like the dumb lovable dad, he's like mean-spirited, and that's certainly
Bart, you know?
choking Bart, or like buying a gun and whatever, and like you can and obviously that's true for any show, is that they become meaner and like kind of more cynical. Peter kind of starts there. Because Peter kind of starts like a bit meaner than Homer ever was, and as the show progresses, has gotten just like the worst person who's ever lived. But I think what's interesting is because here there's still an effort to kind of moralize. Like the end of the episode is him being like, "I just wanted to provide for my family. I love them." That's the whole like point of the show. But there's still, I think that it makes sense for what the tone of the show is, because this show is like, it's a 1970s variety show, right? Hence why there's so many references to 70s. It opens, the cold open is a Brady Bunch parody, you know? Yeah. That's the very first joke of the show. But it's a Brady Bunch parody with like snake pits and like rooms of fire. It has the warmth / like structure of like a boomer show, but filtered through like the snot-nosed like Gen X 24-year-old writer that was what Seth MacFarlane was, you know? Yeah. And that's the tone that started the show, and that's the tone that pervades throughout the show's history, that I think the show itself is starting to like reconcile and come to terms with, because it's constantly questioning like, we're making references, because it's the most meta show on TV. It's not even a show. It's like it's impossible to define these days what the lines of fiction that this show exists on are, you know? Which I like, kind of. I like a way in a fact that there's no attempt to pretend that there's anything other than what's going on. I kind of like that, just metatextually. Like, there's not much else out there like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even a show like Bob's Burgers or Rick and Morty relies on a affection for the characters, but Family Guy relies almost on familiarity. It's like Brian. Here's the 3 things I know about Brian. Meg is gonna be shit on, and someone's gonna fart in her face. Like that's like, and it's just like bit. And I like in the pilot how the cutaways are much shorter. There's almost a lot more of them, and like. This must have been like crack on the streets of inner cities when that shit happened, because like the cutaway is like it's revolutionary. It like changed the game. Like this, like you can just cut to a different. You can't do that in live action. You can do it in animation, but like all the animated shows, really, like the big ones, were kind of like set in the present. The jokes had to be based on dialogue, character, moments, events, or action happening. But to have just like we say a reference, and then the reference happens, and then you get to do another bit inside the reference. It's like really, really well done. Like really, like a cool idea that he came up with the cutaway.
Right, and I think that is like if you look at The Simpsons as the platonic idea of a sitcom of like 40 years of American sitcom tradition, they took it and they made it like the best they could because like what you're saying, because of animation, they could make jokes and be funnier than they couldn't in a way in live action. Family Guy, weirdly, I don't know if it ever fully achieved this, but you could argue if it ever did, it was in the early running. They kind of were that the equivalent of that, but for like sketch shows, for like a Carol Burnett show or something, or like kind of SNL, not really, but like kind of something like that, because like the best, funniest version of a sketch show would be a cartoon if you think about it, you know, because you can do that. You can cut somewhere else. You can just have your entire cast on like a mountain or something. Like it doesn't matter because you're drawing everything, and that's kind of what they did. But I think maybe the push and pull is the idea that they need to have some kind of semblance of plot and character, which they do pull off here, I think, in the first episode. But I think that's the inherent tension in the show, is that they were still kind of trying to be a sitcom. Whereas I think what they wanted, and what they still want, as we'll see in the second episode here, it's a concept episode, is kind of just to be a sketch show.
Yeah. Everyone's kind of a cast, you know? Which
yeah.
Is it, the thing, yeah, I mean, I think we all have, and you and me can't escape this, maybe people older than us can, but like all of us have too much awareness of production, and it kind of can dampen a lot of stuff in like movies and television shows, because like when something does a cutaway, like there was an SNL thing a while ago where it cut to a remote reporter during Weekend Update, and it was Sarah Sherman, like in Rockefeller Center outside. And I can't help but think they had to like get a camera guy out there. Like, why am I thinking I missed whatever time I could just be like, oh, she's outside. But now I'm like, there's like a camera guy out there. They had to block things off, and it's like I don't think about that with Family Guy because everything's drawn. So you have an everlasting suspension of disbelief that can do things like that because it doesn't exist in our world. Even though it's grounded with human characters as opposed to other shows, it's very funny when they're able to do stuff like that. And they really take advantage of it. Whereas something like, not really The Simpsons. The Simpsons gets really wacky. They have like aliens and, you know, but like Bob's Burgers, like someone, obviously Family Guy feels very, slight amount of contention for. Yeah. It's like, they don't really do that. It's like almost like, I don't know why Bob's Burgers has to be a cartoon.
It's cartoon,
Family Guy has to be a cartoon. There's no way to, you have a talking chicken, you have a baby that can talk, like this stuff wouldn't work. But it's like, Bob's Burgers could have been a sitcom. It really could have been a sitcom. Nothing happened. They sit in a burger shop and then they just go to the store and they go to their apartment.
It's just the premise of Bob's Burgers is a family that runs a restaurant. The premise of Family Guy is not like a family. The premise is let's make references to things.
Yeah. There's almost premise, really. The premise is just the characters and like acknowledging them, and then it's
And that's an interesting point that you made about how the characters, it's not about affection, it's about familiarity. Really, even from the beginning, or not even from, I think, but even from the beginning, none of the jokes are coming from characters, right? Which you're told you're supposed to do with sitcoms, and obviously, it's more difficult in the early going when you haven't established who these characters are. But like you're saying, look at the archetypes of these characters, like evil baby, talking dog that's like voice of reason sometimes, teenage girl that's shit on, teenage boy that's stereotyped, nagging wife, dumb dad. Has any of that really changed? And by changed, I mean, have we gotten any kind of depth or complexity to them in 25 years? Not really. There's still those things, and they're still very surface level. And as we'll see in the second episode, they're still doing bits about, like, in the second episode we watched, there's a whole running gag about Chris talking about, oh yeah, my character is just making masturbation jokes. Which is actually, if you've watched, like, the last few, like, maybe even 10 years of Family Guy, that's all Chris's character is. But it's like the same thing. It's like, yeah, you're a teenage boy, so the one thing we know about him is he jerks off, you know? Like, that's what it is. And so they've always maintained that kind of paper-thin characterization, because the point of the show has never been about getting humor from character. It's about getting humor from the plot line and joke structure that you have decided to put on those characters.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like, over time, this might be a little too in-depth for Family Guy, but I think it's true, is like the characters evolve as we have evolved. Our idea of wife, husband, teenage girl, teenage boy, and like Brian's a good example. Brian is the voice of reason in the first episode of Family Guy. Well, what happens over time? Well, our voices of reason have deteriorated and become flawed, and also the voice of reason when you're a kid is not the one that when you're an adult. So now you have Brian being corruptible. He's not like Pilot almost presents him as like the incorruptible, but he's still a dog. He's man's best friend. And like, you know, Peter, like there's just a way that they evolve these characters to match us, where like Peter's dumbness isn't like Homer. He's not Homer. He's not just a dumb dad who always like has a scheme or something. He does have schemes, but they always match the moment because it's not building on a previous episode. So as long as they have the archetype, they can fill those glasses with whatever they want. And if you're making a new episode, a new season every year, you can fill it with something that's more. The tone of them evolves. I just don't think the content evolves, which we realized in the later show. Like, it's a little stunted in what they do. But their ability to have, over the span of the entire show, evolved with us and not try to be more in-depth, like, yes, Brian dies. Yes, they revealed Meg is not really Peter's daughter. Yes, these things all happen. But, you know, of course, it's just, they meet you meet them every episode, and you get it right away. And I think it's why it has lasting success. It's why it's so popular as shorts, because you don't need to know who these people are. They're just doing stuff.
I think you're completely right. I think that's exactly why it's arguably the most popular sitcom amongst people like younger than us, like the generation below us, or not sitcom necessarily, but like animated show for sure. It's had of like the big ones, adult animation, and we could like jump to the second episode for a bit, but it's like I hadn't seen this episode before today. Obviously, I'd seen like the first one quite a few times, but like I will say, first the pilot I think a lot better than this other episode we watched, but weirdly, like I didn't mind just having it on, you know? Like I have a lot of criticisms for it, but it was kind of just, it was kind of nice as kind of what we were talking about, like background viewing. And I think it's because what you're saying, it's like, it's supposed to be just like digestible and on your phone, and you're not supposed to have to think about it. And also in a way, it kind of actively rewards you for not being engaged. Like, there's some shows you can just have on and, like, you can tune in. But this one, the less you pay attention to, the better it is. And I think that's what it kind of transitioned to. I think that was a long journey for it. And in the beginning, it was better to, like, actually watch it. But now it's literally just, like, for the voice. Like, I'm interested, like, if they ever do, like, a Family... And they kind of did. I was going to say, if they ever do a Family Guy podcast. But they did an episode where it was a fake DVD commentary that's just their voices. And you never hear what the visuals are. You just hear the characters' voices. Like, that's what this show is. It's like it's a sketch show. It's a podcast. It's like... There's no connection to anything we're watching. It's to any of the characters, sorry, because it's not meant to replicate reality. I think that's part of it too.
It's so, my fiance said to me, she said, the most Chungus thing about us is we really like Rick and Morty. We just like Rick and Morty. It's one of my fatal flaws. I like the show. The show, clearly, because I think it's well written. I like Dan Harmon. I like what he does to women, and I like that he makes them uncomfortable. But I like that the show...
That's the clip. That's the clip.
Clip it! I think that it's like almost like postmodern thought and creation, and the way that people who make stuff grew up on people that made stuff who grew up on people that made stuff. Like, it's third generation removed. So you have to innovate a little bit. But Rick and Morty in the show, has grappled with, you guys want us to make a arcing narrative where you learn these things about Rick and you learn these things about backstory and what's happening. And I think it's like season 3, season 4.
Yeah.
They grapple with it. But Rick is like, are you happy? Like, there it is. That's the backstory you've been waiting for. Whereas, like, Family Guy will be like, we don't get Emmys. People don't like us, but we're still here. And it's like, the thing that Rick and Morty does, it is kind of a flaw where it's like, it's grappling too much with the fans want this. Whereas Family Guy, it's like, almost doesn't know about the fans because it comes from an era and is made by people who don't have to interact with the internet. Rick and Morty is like, why are the writers of Rick and Morty on Reddit? Why are they on...
Oh, no, and they definitely are. No, Rick and Morty is like... I think maybe they have, like, their opinions on their fans, but there's a relationship there, you know? Family Guy, if anything... Sometimes it feels like they're actively, like, contemptuous of their fans.
Yes.
They'll like, have jokes about being like, oh, you don't know who that is because you're 14, or like, oh, you don't get this reference, and it's like... Yeah, you get it. You do know who you're appealing to, but you still are like, fuck you, I'm gonna make this joke anyways. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Because like you and me, it's like you're watching Family Guy and you're on Wikipedia on your phone, like, what is that? Who is that? Yeah. I'm learning about the landscape of American culture and what these references are. It is a fantastic way to learn about American pop culture, learn about history, learn about all these things that you don't... It's like... I'm learning. Like, it is almost like a structure to learn about American culture. It's not shit that matters. Like, even in the second episode, the most recent one, it's a history episode. It's like, you know about Hitler, you know about Civil War, and you know about the French Revolution. These are things you learn in school. But it's like, and it's not really revealing anything either, but it is referencing that American Western world sauce that we all used to have and love about ourselves, is that we're all in on the joke. You can make inside jokes. This is where stand-up comes from, and all of comedy is evolved. It's like we all have to have a shared reference point to be able to talk to each other in a heightened way. That Star Trek Next Generation, there's an episode, something in Tanahu or something. Basically, the episode, I forget the name of the episode. I feel dumb. I'll put it on the screen when I edit it. But Captain Picard gets put on a planet, and he's trying to communicate with this alien captain that's also put on the planet. But the alien is saying things, but it doesn't make sense to Picard because the universal translator they all have, I think it's like inserted in their ear or something. It's translating what he's saying into words, but he can't understand it. And basically the episode is he learns that this race, their language is based on metaphor. That they'll instead of saying like, let's go to the store, they'll be like a guy that was hungry once went to a place once. Like, it's weird, it's heightened, but it's almost like the language of Family Guy is the language of that alien from the Next Generation. Yeah. It's a reference point, but they are in a way growing you closer with your own culture and world culture and other people. This is ridiculous to be talking about Family Guy this way, but that's why it's important to us, because it brings you together.
Yeah, and you know what you're saying? Okay, I see this a lot of people being like, Americans have no culture. And that's obviously not true, because America's biggest export is its culture. It's just so widespread that it's impossible for the average person to disentangle themselves from it. Like, all of the movies you watch are American for the most part. All the TV shows, that's a culture. Like, when you see like a French movie, you're like, oh wow, French culture or whatever. You just don't do that with like a Hollywood movie or even a great sitcom from the 80s. You're not going to do that because you just think it's part of what the world is. It's so entrenched into like our DNA. Family Guy, by like being built on that, is kind of the most like patriotic show that's ever lived, because it's to understand it is to know America as its own a creature rather than as something as taken for granted.
Yeah, and it's for young people. It obviously is.
Yes.
People of age, so it's got irreverence in it. But it also has reference in it. That you don't make 20-something seasons of a show that is all references to American culture if you don't revere it.
If you don't love it, yeah.
Like, yes, it's obvious Seth MacFarlane has a deep reverence for all things that happened before 1980 in American cinema. Like, he loves musicals. He loves singing. He loves Frank Sinatra. He puts his son in the show.
Yeah.
Like, he just... but it's got so much perspective versus having like a take, where it's like South Park is like, this is our take on Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Family Guy is like, this is our perspective, while flawed often, that you can find like in the episode, the politics one, we talked about those things. It's like, okay, well, this is actually, don't shine the light on it, because your perspective bleeds through in a way that other shows don't necessarily. Like, other shows have to be kind of apolitical. Just like, we are people. Dads love sons. Like, we all figure it out. Neighbors can figure things out. People of different races can get along. Like, that's kind of like the basic plots and the core of like Marvel movies as well. Because it can't take the risk of doing something that's like a one battle after another. Pretty explicit political themes in there about things that are going on. And it's going to be controversial. And it's like, I don't know. I really like this episode. I laughed at a lot of stuff. I was surprised how many things held up comedy-wise. Like, Peter says his favorite episode of Different Strokes is the episode where the bike shop owner molests the kids. But then it cuts to the cutaway, and the bike shop owner is like, all right, now scream in my ass. And it's like, this is very funny. Like, they even though that one is definitely not an episode, there was like a molestation difference.
No, there was a molestation episode. Yeah.
But it wasn't the scream in my ass thing.
No.
I'm like, this is... Give this show $1,000, $1 million every week to do whatever they want. That was so funny. I like it. I really like it. It's so funny that they even do an episode about the pilot where it's Journey to the Pilot.
Yeah.
Couldn't help but think about those things. Like, whoa, ass ahoy. I say that all the time. I go, whoa, ass. And I think about, what does that mean? Like, that's the worst.
It's just there's an ass from the... Yeah.
Like
but it does tell you,
It's like a guy who can't stand silence. He has to keep saying something, and he says something, but it's like
it's moving ahead. Yeah.
Whoa, ass ahoy! I think about it like the Roman Empire. My Roman Empire is whoa, ass ahoy.
It's Brian saying ass ahoy.
Like, what is that? I don't know. You know,
can we make that? Can we make that shirt? My Roman Empire is ass ahoy.
Yeah, my Roman Empire is whoa, ass ahoy, and it's
whoa, ass ahoy.
Season 1.
There was something it was like a video I was watching recently that was a guy talking about why is heavy metal not considered like one of the cool rock genres, and his point was like, because you're like really trying. They're playing like classical music solos and arpeggios, and like compared to punk music, that's not that's not the ethos. Like, you're still angry, but it's it's clearly constructed and well intentioned. And part of me feels like that the mindset of Family Guy is, as much as The Simpsons caused controversy and obviously South Park caused controversy, in its like constructed ethos, Family Guy gives a lot less of a shit about the craft of what their show is than The Simpsons or South Park does. They're heavy metal. They're classical music. They're, spending like a week nonstop making it, or like 6 months making this episode. And Family Guy, I'm sure, has like a long production process as well. But I think that is maybe why it hit so much and it was cult. And it, like, even though it was canceled twice, it came back. Is because there is something irresistible about people making something that they seemingly don't give a shit about. It's why people love podcasts. It's like they're throwing this thing off that like that they can tell it doesn't matter, and they're just saying their references. They're just saying things that we all get, that like it feels like an inside joke. And I think Family Guy at its peak is kind of what that is. It's like you're hanging out with a 24-year-old Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, it is. It's not precious. It's not precious.
Yeah.
It's almost like The Simpsons is like Homer is Mickey Mouse. Peter is not Mickey Mouse.
No.
Peter is whatever. Peter is gay. Peter is racist. Yeah. Peter is whatever it requires it to be. You can't make Mickey Mouse racist and gay. But you can make... Peter Griffin can be anything.
Because you have to care about Mickey Mouse to be something. And so, like, I think moving on to the recent episode of Family Guy, the season 24 finale, High School History. It's a concept episode where they just put the characters in 3 different, like, parts of American history. And, like, there's a weird running gag, or, like, the framing device is Brian is doing community service, so he's just talking to the camera about different... like giving history lessons or something.
He has to do community service because he got caught stealing online orders
Well, that was one of them, and then I think the end he reveals that he was like stalking Jenna Ortega. That's like his right.
But I actually didn't understand what the Jenna Ortega thing meant, but you just clarified it for me.
I think that's just what it was, yeah.
Because I thought it was funnier if it was because he was stealing online orders. Because I was like, I think about doing that all the time.
Right. That's like a good joke. They should have just like reversed them. But what was interesting is like now that we're here and we're talking about how Peter can be anything, like obviously in each of the different sketches, the different characters are put into different roles, and they're just seemingly put at random. Like I don't because there's nothing to any of the characters, and so like Chris is like the king of France, even though wouldn't it make more sense for Peter to be the king of France because he's the head of the family, and then also later plays the president. He plays Churchill, I think, in like the last of World War II one. But like in the second, so like
Chris is Harry Truman.
He played right, and so and Peter's like Abraham Lincoln. But then so why isn't Peter the king? Like there's no thought given to what these characters represent as archetypes because they don't. Yeah. We're just like it's like SNL or Carol Burnett. We're just doing sketches, and you would be funny in this. So like go, just fucking let's get these jokes out. That's what this show. And they're doing so many more concept episodes. I remember when Star Wars was, I think, the only one where they dedicated an entire episode to just like this one parody. Now it feels like 3 or 4 times a season they're doing something like this.
Yeah, and I think it's because where they like do scenes in the style of different directors. They do.
Yes, they have one. They have one that's like HBO shows, like Big Little Lies and something. I think they have the Stephen King one where it's just different Stephen King stories. Different books as well. That's what they do now.
They do that one.
Yes, they do Great Gatsby. And I think that's, in a way, it's kind of smart because, like, you guys, this is what you want to do. You want to make an animated sketch show, so do that.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
And like to have like, I mean, dude, this is like so funny to bring up. But like this episode, we like this. We made a play about this exact idea. Yeah. The exact idea of a person presenting American history in vignette sketches. And we covered, it was American history. They do French.
They do French, but we do the other two. We do World War II and we do Abraham Lincoln.
So, I mean, and they just kind of play it out and do bits along it. We kind of like did like riffs on it. But, I don't know. Okay, so my take on this episode, I like it. I want to start out by saying I do like it. It was like, I want to watch the rest of the season. I haven't seen much of this season.
Neither have I.
But I like it. I was like, oh, this is good. Like, this is not like, making me pull my teeth out. But the way it's evolved from pilot to now is something I'm going to coin as the Deadpoolification of Family Guy.
Sure.
Because they do this stuff a lot. It's like constant cultural, but also self-reference. When Ryan Reynolds talks about his wife, what's her name?
Blake Lively.
Like in Deadpool 3, he mentions Blake Lively, and it's like, I know actor Ryan Reynolds is but it's like you have to, it makes you feel like you're media and self-aware, but it feels not niche enough to make it to where it's an actual like joke or funny. It's just reference because it's the basic idea of what's surface level. The actors in the movie, who they're married to. Ryan Reynolds, or Deadpool in the first one, or the second one, he goes and kills himself before he reads the script for Green Lantern. Yes. And it's like, I know that movie. So but that's not like a reference to John Goodman being fat. Like, then I would have to know who John Goodman is and then therefore know that he's fat. Like, that's almost like too removed. That's not the best example. I
know what you mean, but I it's interesting because what you're saying is like the reason that plays for Deadpool and it's a big screen superhero movie is like the reason that ever plays for anyone whenever you break the fourth wall is because the audience goes, I can't believe they just did that. Like that's not what you're supposed to do. In a way, it's kind of taboo, even though it's not offensive. It's like kind of taboo because like you're not supposed to go there. Especially with a superhero movie where you're like supposed to buy into the stakes of like we're all have superpowers and this is all happening, and for someone to be like, this is fake, like. It's funny because you're not supposed to acknowledge that. But then there is something as to when you put it into the mouths of animated cartoon characters in a television show that's been going on for 2.5 decades that you were watching at home where you're like, that is also inherently meta, where you're like, yeah, I know that you're not real, you know? Like, I know that this is...
Yes. It's like...
It's making me feel dumb for watching it at all.
It's the thing you said, like, yeah, fuck you, we know you're 14. It's like, well, I'm not 14 anymore, and...
I know.
I'm not dumb for watching the show. I'm actually giving you a chance.
Yes.
The feeling that, like, both Deadpool and then, like, a lot of the modern Family Guy fourth wall breaky stuff, it's kind of like when, like, your teacher curses at school and you're like, oh, it's a real person. Or, like, you know, your boss at work will, like, mention some shit-talking thing about another boss at work. And you get a peek. But that wears thin if you have the cursing teacher. It's not like, oh, Mr. Johnson cursed. It's like, oh, this is how this guy talks. Like, this is what this guy does.
Right.
And the thing I think that this episode, again, it's not bad. It's a good episode. If you don't, like what you said earlier, if you don't constantly kind of, they're almost genuine in their pursuit of being non-precious about it. That they're like, we are trying to make this as funny as possible, so we're going to throw everything at the wall. But if you're not, the identity is not like cultural references wrapped up in a thin plot and it just goes and keeps going through. It's like, it's not a peek behind the curtain if all of us exist behind the curtain and the show exists behind the curtain and there's no curtain anymore. We just, the curtain is the atmosphere of Earth. We're all inside. Yeah. We all are inside the joke now. So that's not going to be shocking to us because we're inside. It's like what I said earlier about, like, I can't help but think about production when I'm watching something happen in a TV show that's out of character. I think about a writer's room of Family Guy. I think about Seth. I think about these things now. And it's like, you acknowledging that doesn't do you any favors. It actually makes me feel validated in that, which is a negative experience for me.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I think, like, when you talk about this about stand-up a lot, where it's like, you know, if a joke bombs and you go, you know, like, you do, like, kind of an aside. It's like, I'll delete that from the act, or I'll kill myself or something. You can have, like, one of that. You can do it once. But then when that's most of the act, then it's like, stop, get off stage. You know, stop performing. Yeah. You can't just buy into it. And also, I also, like, I'm of the opinion that it's kind of interesting just from, like, a weird, like, I don't know what the word is, like, post-media, kind of like what you were saying, standpoint, to have Family Guy as this token, as a thing where there's no curtain, right? Where it's just, like, so presentational that it's not, like, I think that's interesting just because structurally and conceptually that doesn't exist anywhere else. And so whether or not it's good, I like almost admire it as, like, a thing that's unique. But the problem then is what you're saying is where, like, it's not a joke anymore. You know, it's like, that's not funny. So if you're going to do all of that, you have to say something else. You have to go a different route if you're trying to entertain me, because otherwise, like, this stuff, we're there. We're ahead of you. It's like we were saying last time with the Trump episode. It's like, we're way ahead of you. We're way smarter than you about all this stuff, guys. Like, you can't act like you're getting one over on us because we're way far past that.
Improv principle, like in improv theaters, you speak to the top of your intelligence. You don't pretend you know less than you do to appeal to the audience. You actually earn authority by saying something that maybe some people won't know about. Because if your scene partner doesn't know about it, now you can explain it, and now it's a weird thing you built into your show where you said something nobody understands the reference. Now it's almost a joke that you're having to sit there in the weird scene where you're both birds explaining your reference to Casino. Like, this is like, you know, whatever it is. I think that it does things that are like, it resents and also embodies things too, like in this new episode. Like in the French Revolution part, they're like, the only thing I care about in French culture is that picture of the cool guy looking cool. Right. And it cuts to the painting of the guy like this, which is a real painting. But that was it was a meme in 2014, in 2012, like a 2012 meme of like a painting of like a French guy, like, oh, and like later in the episode, it keeps this running gag where Sam Elliott is doing voiceover over like lines and maps. And there's like a fiddle, and then someone's like, play Mumford & Sons. He's like, I'm not playing that crap. But it's like, Mumford & Sons was very popular when the meme you are still referencing was popular. You are Mumford & Sons. So don't shit on Mumford & Sons.
Well, it's also crazy because, like, we don't remember what it was like when Family Guy first premiered, right? Like, we don't know, like, we weren't there. I mean, we were alive, but, like, we weren't there in terms of, like, being cognizant. But we remember what 2012 was like. And we remember, so we're aware of how lame it is, like, to be like, oh, we're building a show off references from something 15 years ago, you know? And so I wonder whether if we remembered what the 70s was like, watching a show that exclusively referenced stuff. Like, something I was thinking about recently, I was at a restaurant with some friends, and they had, like, a wine list that had super expensive wines, and they were all aged from, like, 20, 25 years ago. But, like, those are years I remember now. And I'm like, I get it, 25 years is 25 years, but, like, I just can't justify paying like $1,000 for something made in the year 2001, you know? Like, yeah. I remember what was going on back then. You don't deserve my money from it. There's no way it's good.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's not like classic. It's like when like the classic, when I worked in radio, I watched the classic hit stations start to play Pearl Jam.
Start to slowly trend up, yeah.
Yeah, like the Foo Fighters on the classic rock station. It's like they're still making music. And I know the Rolling Stones still go on tour or whatever, but like this is a song from my youth. And the problem that I think is like I'm not old enough for you to be cashing in on the classic rock of the Foo Fighters. Like it actually is weird of you to try and sell that to me. Yeah.
And you know what I think it also is, at least in specifically the Family Guy way, is that when in the early seasons, it was so clearly a reflective of Seth as like the main character, the person whose personality is behind the entire DNA of the show. It's reflective of his genuine desires, you know? So it doesn't seem like a nostalgia play, like a cheap nostalgia play, even if it does effectively come off as that when he's referencing like the Brady Bunch. But when they're doing it for memes or like specific bands that were around 15 years ago, by a writing staff that I know is much older than that, it does come off as cynical. It does come off as you being like, oh, we're just playing to like the teenager or the 24-year-old that is watching this that remembers it, because I know that's not actually reflective of your identity and what genuinely interests you as writers and as comedians.
Yeah. And if you want to play to Gen Z, you gotta go all in on the cynicism versus this like, I mean, the episode's fine. It's just fine. Like, it wasn't great. It wasn't amazing, but it was fine. I think there's a lot of things Family Guy could do modern episodes about that they don't do. And I'm going to go back and watch this most recent season. But I made a list of ideas I think Family Guy could have done this season. I want to pitch them to you to conclude our conversation. Do you have any final thoughts before I pitch these lists to you?
No, go.
All right, here things Family Guy could do new episodes about that I don't think they have unless they have.
Yeah.
Biden leaves office to start an Obama Springsteen-style podcast, but he can't find anyone, so he does it with Peter, and Peter realizes he really did have dementia.
That would be really funny. I mean, you might just be pitching your packet right now to them.
Oh, let's delete it.
No. This is good. I think this is good.
I think they could do an episode where it's a sequel to your favorite episode about the FCC.
Yeah.
Where it's Peter TV, but it's more about like internet censorship, the way the FCC blocks fair use, copyright stuff in that vein. And I think it could also acknowledge and consider their existence as something that exists on YouTube Shorts now. Like, I think like having a whole episode about themselves, if they're going to be self-referential, they could do something like that.
You're right. I don't think they have... Like, the thing with these guys is that it takes them a while to get to a place, you know? Yeah. I think they will eventually get there, but it takes them a while to acknowledge, like, what their actual place in the world is.
Brian dies again and keeps dying every season, and they bring in a different dog actor so Seth can do less work.
Yeah, that's great. They treat him like Kenny.
Yeah, but he's a seasoned Kenny. Like, he'll get like 3 episodes and
nice.
Come back.
Yeah.
They bring back the old Cleveland and recast every white character with a black voice actor.
That's too good for them to do. That's like actually really good idea.
I think that could be a good one. ICE agents come to Quahog and kidnap the cleaning lady, and they have to go get her back in a big finale that is a parody of one battle after another. I just feel like they would do that.
That one is something they would actually do, yes.
Journey
and
to
maybe
Israel.
Is in development. Journeys. Lois
goes on Call Her Daddy.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
They're gonna do something where it's like Waymo self-driving cars in Quahog.
Yeah.
Because they all live in LA, and that's a thing in LA, but nobody else has to deal with that. AI data center in Quahog. Chris dates an AI chatbot. Meg is bullied because they make fake nudes of her, and it ends with a classic Family Guy courtroom scene. But they and one of the scenes in there, AI like writes a scene and it's bad, even though like it would probably be like okay. But, like
if there's any show that Family Guy that could be written by AI, it's Family Guy.
Yeah. Peter gets a Tesla. I feel like they might have done that. And then this one is just odd, but I figured they might do something like that. It would be interesting to do something like this, where like a Mamdani figure runs for mayor in Quahog, and Brian's like anti him because he's like the classic liberal, but he has to kind of like rectify like what real political change and progress looks like in the culture.
Right.
So it's kind of like a Cuomo guy having to realize that like Mamdani is the future, but it's like a Quahog version of that. I feel like they could do something like that.
I think that's an interesting version of like the Rush Limbaugh episode, because the end of that episode is like, no, Brian, you actually are a liberal, but then positioning it as like you are a liberal, and like that actually kind of sucks in a lot of ways, and not in the like, oh, you're too woke ways, in like the legitimate the politically you apparently believe it is bad for change.
Yeah, this episode was kind of woke. Did you notice a little bit of woke?
Yeah, there was definitely I couldn't get a read on its politics, because there was like. They
decapitate J.K. Rowling in the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And then they make fun of the Dilbert guy, who was a very stark Republican. They're like, why does this final... Peter's reading the newspaper. He goes, why does this final Dilbert comic have a guy checking people's genitals?
Yes.
It's like two anti-trans...
Yeah. I thought that was the best joke of the episode. I really liked that one. The Dilbert one. But there was also something interesting about like the ways they characterized the past, where it was like, do you notice like it was vaguely anti like the peasant revolt in France, where they were coming and they're like, yeah, we're gonna kill you even though like, you know, we have no idea what's going on or something. And then like there was sort of both sidesing the Civil War, where they're like, oh, we'll just wear these different uniforms, and like, you know, they didn't really acknowledge, you know, the reason the Confederates.
The nuke thing, I was like, this is like weirdly like of the times, because it's like FDR is dying, and he's like, they're gonna surrender, so just And then Truman's like, nuke Japan, and it's like, no, they're gonna surrender. Like, no. Yeah. And like that's like a modern thing where we've all learned that like we didn't really have to nuke Japan, really. Like,
no, and I think you're completely right. Where it's like, I also think, as is evidenced by the J.K. Rowling Dilbert thing, is it's like what you said. They're responding to the world. They're not. It's not necessarily actual political change. That's why I think the Mamdani thing is actually a very good idea, because it's confronting liberals with like the idea of like, we need to like move a lot faster and actually get things done rather than wait for it to become acceptable. Because like you got to remember, this is still the show that when a character found out that he slept with a trans woman, he threw up so much that there was enough vomit to drown the people in the house. Like, that was the show's take on trans people. And now in that you can't have that, it's like, hey, J.K. Rowling sucks. And, you know, like, doesn't Dilbert suck? And it's like, yeah, they do. But then also, what are your actual beliefs, you know? Yeah. What are you actually trying to put out there?
Yeah. Do something, Family Guy. Get after it, Family Guy. You could do a lot more, but you should make a list of some ideas for.
I'll make a list next episode. Maybe inspired by like what do you have any? I pitched one to you before, like a couple days ago. But if you have any ideas of what the next batch we watch is,
what was your idea?
James Woods.
That could be fun. Let's do James Woods.
Yeah, let's do the main three, because like. Or I think there's one, like the first one, then he comes back, and then he dies, and then he comes back. So I think that's 4 episodes.
That's
so
fun.
Maybe we do those 4, yeah.
Because I really want to talk about James Woods.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll make it a double-sized one.
Dude, can't wait. Let's go into the woods. James Woods! Musical guest! James Woods.
Musical guest?
Yeah, I don't know what he does.
He produced Oppenheimer.
And he's a Republican. He's one of Hollywood's last few Republicans.
Yeah. We should watch. Maybe we'll put in clips of his Rudy Giuliani biopic.
I didn't know he did that.
He starred as Rudy Giuliani. And he goes,
when was this?
This is like right after 9/11.
The best time to be Rudy Giuliani.
He was like, there's the line is like he's on a balcony with some woman, his cousin, I guess, because he was married to his cousin.
Yeah, of course.
And he's like, Democrats, they talk about making things better. Republicans, we make things better. And then he goes in and like,
Ew. I gotta look into this. I haven't even heard of this movie. Is it called Rudy? It's Rudy 2.
It's Rudy 2. Sean Astin is in a role where he's like, can I play football?
Can I play football for one final play?
This doesn't actually affect anything. I remember watching Rudy for like the first time, and I was like, this is the inspirational movie. I don't get it.